So just to start, give yourself a few moments in a comfortable sitting position. Feel well supported by the chair. Try and have your feet flat down on the floor. Sit up. If you need to, get a little bit of support for your back. Sit back a little bit. Try and sort of tilt forwards so you feel some of your weight in your feet. The more forward you are in your chair, the more you'll be able to recognise that. But the more forward you are in your chair, the more likely you are to strain in your back. So yes, there's a balance there to find. Let me just do something about that shadow that's across there. That's better. So, if you need to, you can always put a cushion behind you, remember. So, to give a little bit of extra support for your back. And starting with our usual sort of self-massage tapping exercise, just rubbing your hands together and fingers a little bit warmer. Start by tapping over your face with the pads of your fingers. Nice light, rapid movement. Start to work up over your head and down to your neck. I use the palms of my hands here. Down to one shoulder. Again, I'm using my palm. You could use the hand fisted. It's a very easygoing practice, this one, so just whatever feels right for you. Going down the inside of your arm, up the outside, and beginning to notice the effect. Things like the vibrations in your muscles and your fingers as you do this. On to the other side. And then again your arm. So like everything else in Tai Chi, there's a dual aspect, if you like, mind and body. Upper part of your chest. And then down to your belly, light on your belly. This exercise helps to get the circulation going a little bit. It's also a good way of just anchoring your attention in your body. Finally down to your legs. Take a moment again to consider your sitting posture. So if you can be forward in the chair without straining your back, that's great, because then when you tilt forward a little bit, you have a greater appreciation of the support that your feet and your legs offer you, even though you're in the chair. The majority of your weight stays back in the chair, so just about a third of your weight at most in your feet. But so that your weight seems to fall in that space created between your hips and your feet. And your head is also above that space rather than out to the side or something like that. So overall, just feeling very supported by your feet and your hips. And feel that the front of your upper body supported by the back, the spine, so that your rib cage drop a little bit. Try not to pull your belly in, let your shoulders drop. Feel the weight of your arms as they rest on your shoulders. And just a very slight angling forward, so you can still get this sense of your head able to rest on your shoulders and the top of your vertebra. Trying not to stiffen up in soft tissue of the upper body, especially the big muscles of back and chest. So Make sure that your breathing comes a little bit more freely. And then slowly turning your head. Bring your hands just resting on the front of your shoulders here. Push your elbows around in a small circle. The shoulders, chest and upper back. It's being gently moved and massaged by the movement. And then going forwards. Hands down by your sides, and then rotating your arms. And then winding around. And back the other way. Resting your hands. Now, tilting forwards a little bit more, so more of your weight going into your feet, but not so far that your head goes beyond your knees. And then initially it's just a push from your feet, you push down into the floor to push your shoulders back. The second aspect of this is that as you go forward, you feel your hips dropping back in the chair. Looks like somebody's taken hold of the top of your trousers, and as you go forwards, they're sort of pulling you back. So that also helps to sort of limit the amount of movement going forwards without straining. You feel that your back extends and contracts, your spine extends and contracts a little bit. And it means that your hips dropping back help to pull your shoulders back. So the combination of the push up from the feet, the pull from your hips, makes it possible to come back to the more upright position without having to stiffen, without having to strain in, say, your back or your shoulders. Turn a little bit, so now that movement forwards, taking more of your weight into one leg. Just building the idea that our weight is something that is mobile and has this impact on the rest of the body. When your weight moves into one leg, your upper body is drawn more towards that leg. If we turn direct the weight into the other leg, we're drawn more towards that leg. So it's that center part of the body that guides the weight and our awareness and our intention begins to be focused through the center part of the body. So you go forwards and there's an intention to turn towards the opposite foot, that takes your weight over. There's an intention to roll back into your hip, and again an intention to turn, and so on and so forth. So this means that our weight begins to move around, and our upper body follows that. And back the other way. Coming back to the centre now, and raise one heel, push your foot out, put the heel down, lower the ball of the foot, gently push your foot into the floor, plant the foot. Do that 2 more times. And then, having planted the foot, roll your weight forwards. Prioritising the placement and the planting of your foot over the movement of your weight. And then on the other side, although that may seem obvious, actually, because we pay more attention to the upper body than our feet and our legs, there's often a temptation to move forwards before the foot is in position. So this time moving your weight. That is especially true in my experience when we're also doing movements with the upper body, movements with the arms and things, as we will be doing shortly. Now alternating from side to side, feeling that slight shift across and slight turning the body as you do that. One more on each side. Okay. So, let your hands drop down to your sides. Arms out just a little bit. Turn your hands palm forwards. Now, ease your weight forwards, and as you do, rotating your arms. Your arms rotate from your shoulders, sitting back. This is bird folds its wings. Seeing if you can just spot the very subtle expansion in your chest as you go back and turn your hands forwards, and then as you go forwards, rotate the hands back. Then that same subtle expansion across your shoulders and your upper back. Don't hold your fingers stiff or your elbows stiff. A useful image here is to imagine that you're moving in water, so that there's a little bit of imagined resistance here that encourages your body to move excuse me, without stiffening up. Somebody once described Tai Chi as swimming on dry land. And this has the effect of both helping to release tightness and stiffness and encouraging the flow in our bodies. And it also achieves a very subtle conditioning in our bodies as well. This time, leave your hands facing back so that now your arms just swing through this gentle curve, following your shoulders, following the transfer of your weight. So the movements will always start in the lower part of the body, hips, pelvis, legs, feet, the movement of your weight. And so a significant part of our awareness and intention remains anchored in the lower part of our body. This has a very grounding quality for us. And it's that awareness, that intention in the lower part of the body, including our centre of gravity dropping, the root, that really becomes the location, if you like to think of it like that, and that quality of stillness and spaciousness in the mind that is very much a part of the movement. And as you go through this very simple exercise, this fisherman cast net, just allowing your arms to swing, recognise that the simplicity just enables you to become a little bit more aware of details of movement in the upper part of your body, the extension and contraction in your spine, patterns of expansion and contraction in your back, the belly, the sides of your body. This time you come forwards, leaving your arms out, coming back up so your arms are drawn up a little bit, and then just let them swing over. So there's a ball there. And what you're doing is you're going to just roll the ball in towards you. Try and avoid lifting your arms. We get too busy with our arms and hands. We find that our attention to other parts of the body is lost. And actually, one of the features of this exercise, of all of them really, but one which this exercise really illustrates, I think, is how that movement in the lower part of the body enters the upper body. As you come up, there's a bit of a movement and expansion in your belly, your solar plexus, in your chest, like a wave coming up from your feet underneath your arms. This time, as you come up, turning your hands palm in, increasing the expansion in the belly and the chest, pushing your arms away, and then coming forward, kind of folding in your chest. Almost like you're squeezing on a ball. And then back. This pigeon spreads its wings. When we have these movements of expansion and contraction, especially when they're so emphasizing a movement like this, we sometimes find that our breathing will just naturally follow that pattern. Breathing in as the body expands, breathing out as it contracts. You might choose to just note that, but if you note that and realise that it's breathing slightly differently, then just remember that your body does know how to breathe. So as long as you're breathing, you'll be fine. This time, Bring your hands back. Elbows still go out, so there's still a little bit of an expansion here. Hands, heels of the palm drop down, palms forward, push forward. So we've got a very similar internal dynamic going on here to the previous movement. Expansion and contraction in chest and upper back, but a much less expansive movement in our arms and hands, giving this a slightly more dense, stronger quality. It's called pushing wave. So there's also a very distinct focus of attention to where you're pushing to. And you don't want to overextend. As a general, if you pardon the expression, rule of thumb, at the end of the extension, your hands will be above your knees or above your feet. You don't want them right out there. I'm straining in my back now when I do this. And as you become more familiar with these practices, it's reasonable that your range of movement will increase, but we let that increase not through straining and sort of pushing harder, but really the opposite way, by trying to release tightness and stiffness. So hey, say I get to here, I can feel my lower back tightening up. If I can release in my lower back, I get a little bit more movement, and so on and so forth. So don't strain against your own body. One more time, going straight forwards. And then turn in slightly towards one foot, step out, plant the foot, push forwards. Coming back, plant the foot down here, turn the other way, plant and press forwards. So another way that we can begin to extend our range of movement is by careful positioning of our feet. When the foot's further out, I have the potential to go a little bit further because I'm still being supported by the foot. I feel a little bit of my weight going down into the foot there. If I try to push this far out without the foot there to support, it could even fall out the chair and certainly start to strain. One more time. Feet back parallel. Roll your fingers into a hollow fist. Palm up, and then as you go forwards, palm down. This time your elbows don't go out. They draw back to your side. So this is not actually that big a movement on the part of my arms. This is all the arms get in terms of forward and backward movement. You don't want to lock your elbows out. It's when I do this in combination with my weight moving forwards that I start to get a bigger range of movement. It's not just the weight, because remember, hips are dropping back, there's a lengthening through your spine, through your back, across your shoulders, and then into your arms and back. And it can feel as though that extra movement is kind of drawn into the spiraling, and like a spring being loaded and then released. One more time, going forwards. At the end of this movement, uncoil your fingers, turn your hands out, winding back. Bringing your hands in front of your hips, finishing with press forwards. So this is like the last time we did the push, but considerably greater feeling of expansion through the chest and ribs. This time, when your hands are come back in front of your belly, turn them palm down. Turn, then ease forwards, again hips sinking back, lengthening through back and spine, through arms and fingers. Turn the other way, come back to the centre at the starting point. Turn the other way, this is polishing the tail. Always feeling that at the end of the push, the furthest distance of the push, you could have gone a little bit further. Not locking joints up, not straining in muscles, tendons or ligaments. Maintaining that feeling of a space within the body, movement of one kind or another. Then back to start. So now from here, turning your hands palm up. What we were doing in that first set of exercises is we were distinguishing between the forward and the backward movement of the weight, movement coming either from your hips or from your feet or from one of something like that. Next set of exercises are more vertical. And so we want to use both feet and hips at the same time. So once again, just sitting for a moment, feeling that as you can drop your weight into the chair, it's almost like sitting into water, that at a certain point, it's a very subtle sense of a movement and expansion upwards. So you feel your back beginning to lengthen and contract. Bring your hands around as though you're cradling a ball, and then movement, push yourself up, and then gently down. So imagine there's a ball here, and you're pushing up, and then at the top of the movement, you're going to press the ball down again. For the upward movement, notice that you need to push down through feet and hips to create that rising wave-like movement once again. Notice also that as you contract, you may feel a little bit heavier in your hips and your feet as the legs are compressed that little bit more. So that downward movement through your hips gives the name to the movement, which is rooting down. Rooting down is really about that connection downwards into the ground. Centre of gravity dropping, our thoughts dropping, our weight dropping, however you experience it. It kind of anchors everything. Movements. One more time. So this process of expansion and contraction, hips sinking down a little bit more, continues through all of the rest of the exercises. Turning your fingers out, wild goose. And then, as your hands drop down, easing forwards, let your hands just swing in front of your knees. Sit back and push up once again, your elbows leading, expanding upwards and outwards, parting the clouds. When you come back up to the more upright position, take a moment here just to let your hips settle into the chair and then to push up and out. Don't hurry. Letting your hands now drop down to your sides, feeling the weight of your arms hanging from your shoulders. Hips sinking downwards, body contracting, and then with the next expansion, applying yourself to one side, pushing your arm up, wind around, pull down. It's dragon plucks the stars from the sky. Your arm come down. Take a moment again to feel the centre of your body sinking into the chair, and then on the other side. In that moment when you're just focusing on the centre of your body sinking downwards, notice that there may be a certain amount of restlessness in your arms and upper body, an urge to rush on, perhaps. One more time. Now back to both hands together, but still with a sense of just settling in. Try and let the side of your hands touch the side of the centre of your body. Get that feeling of a contraction, allowing gravity to work through your body, compressing this central part of the body, which will then begin to expand. And as it expands, there's a push down through your feet and a push up through your upper body that pushes your arms up, turning them to though you're pressing them against the low ceiling, and then contracting. Everything being drawn back into your centre, and then down into the ground, and then expansion taking over once again. Simply called pushing in two directions. And almost as though somebody's massaging your back sideways and lengthways. But this time, as you push out, extend one foot. This time, just let the heel rest down. Knees a little bit bent, turning your hands palm forwards, gently forwards, and then pull back, just scooping the sea and looking at the sky. One of the more stretchy exercises, but still at the furthest point of the movement, feeling you could have gone a little bit further. And a real extension through your back and spine. Most of your weight staying backwards in this movement. So the spine is sort of expanding and contracting. And a similar dynamic here, hands coming down, rolling your fingers into a hollow fist again, going forwards, but this time your head going upwards slightly, lengthening again through your back, drawing your arms over, just grasping the tiger's ears. Feeling the various movements, the tilting of your upper body from your hips, expansion and contraction in back, spine, chest and upper back. Combining to move your arms for you so that all that's left is for you to create the shape and the position. And then on the other side, so bring that foot back, turn in slightly, extend out. You may feel a little bit of an extension, a pull through your calf and the back of your thighs. And this time change into grasping the tiger's ears. One more time. Coming back, bringing your feet in. We're going to do a slightly more complex exercise, which requires a slightly more complex pattern of movement for our weight and our feet. Start by just going forwards and backwards, but remember, we can direct where we want the weight to go. We can have an intentionality about that. This will become really significant when we come to standing, so it's a good thing to practice. Turning slightly so your weight goes into your left leg and comes back into your right hip, and then you turn again to bring your weight across into your left hip, forwards diagonally into your right hip. And this is going to already move your upper body. We'll bring the arms into the movement, hold the ball, right hand on top, left hand underneath. Go forwards, turning, let the movement feed to the bottom hand out, top hand pushes down. Coming back into your right hip, so mirroring my movements, drawing your arm across, hold the ball, move across and turn, bringing your weight more into your left hip and then forwards into the right leg. This is part in the wild horse's mane. An expansion, feeling as though it's going from your left hip into your right chest and out through the right arm. Remember, directing your weight, turning in your center. Noticing the patterns of expansion and contraction that result from that. from the intention, the shape of the movement in your upper body. One more on each side. And come back to sitting. It's worth taking a moment just to register the feel, the qualities, particularly in the upper part of the body in this posture. The feeling of being supported, allowing tightness and stiffness to release from your upper body, creating this spacious quality. Again, you may notice things like your breathing is coming a little bit more easily, and yet at the same time feeling supported, in particular through the spine and your ribs. And then, once again, this tapping exercise to prepare ourselves to stand it. So, rubbing your hands together and tapping over your face. And then going up over your head and neck. Down to one shoulder. And then to your arm. And on the other side. Onto the upper part of the chest. Down to your belly. And finally your legs. And then from here, just pushing your heels up, getting the muscles of your legs working a little bit more before we stand on them, and circling them out. And back the other way. Okay, coming to standing. So, looking for a posture that enables us to reproduce some of those qualities that we felt in the chair. Starting with your feet as always. So, straighten this out. Feet are directly below your hips, pointing forwards as much as possible. Your weight a little bit forwards and just allow your hips to drop back. So again, there's this settling, rooting quality. Sink down a little bit more and then pushing up, body expanding upwards. Don't lock your knees back and let yourself sink down again. Pushing up. Don't lift yourself up with the shoulders. Push up from the ground. And then sinking down, bringing your hands around. We did this in the chair. Rooting down, pushing up, turn your hands over, let your hips drop, so you're pressing the ball down into water. The end of the movement, turn your fingers out. As you push up, your arms being pushed away from your body, the standing version of the wild goose, and then down, and then letting your hands drop, cross over, and the standing version apart in the clouds. So doing these three movements in a little sequence, starting over again with rooting down, bringing in that awareness of patterns of movement within your upper body, especially as you begin to change from one movement to another, noticing how that happens, how the physical qualities change, how the image changes. So we bring an intentional quality to all aspects of these movements. Sometimes that might just be guided by simple awareness, a growing awareness. Could be through the use of different images, different understandings. And for those of you familiar with the movements, memory is also a powerful guide to intention. So three elements of mind, body, movement, of energy, beginning to harmonize, work together and support each other. One more round of this. Good. Shake it. One foot forwards, keeping the width of your step. You can see the background between my legs and about the same in length. And once again, now beginning to move the weight. This time very much from foot to foot. So the more we can bring a deep awareness to the movements, the more we can bring a deliberate, conscious intention to them. And that has an effect on both the movement, the energy, and the physical, mechanical side of the movement. So these three aspects, body, mind, and energy, are very much aspects of one thing. The awareness of movement, of energy, the awareness of our body really helps to deepen our attention, to hold our attention, rather than being that it's too likely to get distracted. And that helps to generate a real sense of peacefulness, calmness in the mind. And from that position, we're able to direct our intention into the appropriate movements. So don't think in terms of mind over matter, but rather this interaction of these three so-called treasures. This time when you go into your back leg, settle down there, raise the front toes, so you shift back just a little bit. And then going forwards, push the back knee in so your heel comes up. This will bring your upper body more over your supporting leg. And once again, there's an intention here to reproduce some of those qualities in the upper part of the body that we first encountered and identified in the chair. The openness, the spaciousness, the sense of being supported, for instance. So one of the things that has directly travelled with us, as it were, from the chair to the standing, is that sense of awareness and intention. And in its turn, this will enable this. You step in slowly, and you go back, you put the ball of the foot down, lower your heel, press into the floor, plant the foot, and come back. And then when you forwards, it's the heel, then the ball of the foot, then the planting. But before either of those, before any of that, there's a moment where you're just aware of your posture, aware of your root, your center of gravity dropping down, and are in a position to make any sort of adjustments to that before you take the step. And that happens here, but it also happens here before you step out. Good. Shake out. So, we're going to do that with the other foot forwards. The back leg will turn out a little bit. The front foot should point straight forwards. And you can play about with that angle of the back foot until it's comfortable. First of all, fixed step, just remembering that we can begin to direct our weight rather than it being a dead thing or a random thing over which we have no ability to, if you like, control. We can direct it into one leg and then into the other. Beginning to raise toes and heel. Remember, there's a downward movement here. And then stepping in. And take a few steps forwards or backwards, wherever you have space. And now change direction. And we're taking just that moment, don't rush this. Okay. Now, have your right foot forward, so mirror my movements. Move your weight into your front foot, settle in. As you sink down, turn, and as you turn, let your arms swing out. Move your weight into your back foot, let your hands drop down, settle into your back foot, turn to your right, and let your arms swing out. This is called wind blows the willows. We have this pattern of expansion, contraction as the weight begins to move, and as you sink into the back foot, expanding. So we have the whole body, one way or another, the movement of your weight, the rooting down, the turning in the center of your body, those patterns of expansion and contraction in the upper part of the body, all building into this final movement. Okay, shake out. So now, your left foot forwards, moving your weight into the front leg, turning, and just let that swing your arm out. Back. Wind blows the willows. And as you get more used to this, and people who are more experienced with these exercises, just see where the movement is in the upper part of your body. Where are the patterns of expansion and contraction? And which are the useful ones? What helps the movement? And this is where you want to direct your intention into those movements to cultivate the movement. And once again, we find these three treasures of body, mind, energy really all very much part of the same overall movement. So then we can combine this with the stepping. So again, forwards or backwards, whichever foot it is you bring in, you settle for a moment and then step through and plant the foot. It's this dragonfly skims the water. Bring the foot in. And if it feels comfortable, you bring the foot in, and wherever your posture is, you do this, raise in the leg. Settle in and raise. Don't rush this. There's nothing to be gained in struggling for this. So if your posture at the moment isn't ready for this, don't try raising the leg. You can change direction. So here, I always have a little check. Am I going to be able to do this? What I don't want to do here is to sort of go, I'm going to raise the leg, and there's nothing to be gained in that. Better to leave the foot down to get your posture working for you, rather than feeling that somehow you have to struggle against what your body's doing to achieve the movement. And then bring the feet back. Go back to your chairs. So as we do these movements, and particularly as we do a movement like that last one, which is obviously quite a tricky movement, the key thing is always this awareness of our posture, its alignment, its root, and how far we've strayed from that, which inevitably we do, and how we can come back to it. And this last exercise really illustrates that process of an awareness and a return. It's called Embrace Tiger Return to the Mountain. So hands down to your sides. You have an expansion, an outward movement, but then everything starts to draw in, bringing your hands around so you're going to hold the ball against your chest. Drawing in, sinking down through your hips, letting your shoulders drop, and just letting your awareness settle in to your hips and your feet, and then pushing out again. So the return is a physical return, but also in terms of the energy in your body, in terms of your awareness, just a return to this feeling of being calm, being spacious, being still, steady, mind and body and energy. And then your hands come to rest. And just eyes. Lovely. Thank you as always, everybody. Thank you very much. And if you do have any questions or comments, please do get in touch. But other than that, thank you very much for coming and see you soon. Bye for now.